Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Maverick Mindset Radio Show. I am Amazon best-selling author Adam Williams.
Knew you were going to do that, and I'm not. I'm Ashley Muckinhaupt.
And this is the radio show for the dreamers and doers. It's for those who are willing to step into the arena.
Some call us the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers.
We don't accept the status quo. We leave the world better than we find it.
We approach each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. We maintain a rational optimism about the future.
This is the Maverick Mindset Radio Show, brought to you by me, Adam Williams.
Want to say it again?
Getting a little ego. Yeah, brought to you by me, Amazon best-selling author Adam Williams. That was a little egocentric on the intro today.
Yeah, but it's so something to be... How many people can say that?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Doesn't matter. I can. That's all that matters.
Right. Well, so
let's just in case anybody doesn't know.
Yeah. We've only been talking about
it. So just in case nobody knows. I'm sure people want to hear it again.
Yeah.
We had the book launch yesterday,
which was very successful.
It was successful because if you go on Amazon right now, it is the #1 selling book in the self-employment category.
Yeah. What's the name of the book? So if anyone has not got it, they can go out and get it.
Everything Your Kids Wish You Knew About Owning a Business. I'm holding it up to the camera for everybody in the studio. Yeah, so we're #1 in self-employment right now. We're #20 in entrepreneurship, but I know that not all of the sales have registered yet, so excited to hopefully see that continue to climb.
So do these, when they put them in these categories, right, they just list, so when people buy, it just attributes to each category?
You know what I learned? Here's what I learned yesterday, is it's different bestseller list for Kindle, paperback, and hardcover.
I saw someone ask that question during the book launch. How do you know what? So if you're ordering from one, it's going on a different list?
Yeah, so if you order the paperback, it helps the paperback list. Wow. If you order the Kindle version, it helps. So we're lower in the Kindle version, and we're lower in the hardcover version. But paperback, #1 bestseller.
Good way to see what people are reading, right? So yeah, paperback must be the...
I actually haven't gotten the hardcover version yet. I ordered some author copies, and I'm going to end up ordering a bunch more as we do some book signing and events and stuff like that. So I haven't seen the hardcover, and I imagine it's going to be pretty nice. But yeah, big day yesterday. Yes. Big day. And today, we're talking about my favorite topic.
Mine too.
sort of kind of directly related to that. So you excited?
Yeah, because I've been wanting to do this topic since we started.
Every week.
And Adam keeps like, no, not yet. So I'm like, I ask every week. And now, so I asked last week. He's like, yeah, we could do that. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, we ran out of ideas. And it's like, all right, finally, let's get there. All right, so before we jump into it, let's talk about where people can find out more information. Yeah. So streaming live at 9:05, blowing your minds every Wednesday at 9, live on Facebook, Maverick Mindset Radio. The following is growing there. It's pretty exciting. And the episodes then get posted on Spotify every Tuesday. So I think by now, last week's episode is up. What did we talk about last week? I don't even remember. Was that the getting in the...
Yes.
The book? Oh, we talked about the book. Oh,
I got to interview you. It was my Oprah moment.
That's right. My Amazon best-selling book. Wow, I can't believe I forgot that. That's funny. Gosh. All right, we're also streaming live on YouTube. And then, of course, MaverickMindsetRadio.com, where we've got the Maverick merch, Maverick 10 for 10% off. And the Maverick Mindset Radio page also has some information on the book. And actually, there's a tab on there. The MaverickMindsetRadio.com page redirects to IamAdamWilliams.com. Okay. So it's got a bunch of information about me. Again, man, really ego-driven show today. But there's a tab on there about speaking.
Okay.
And there's a recording of a talk that I did in October at the Erie Homecoming event.
That was great.
That frankly has gotten like rave reviews and has allowed me an opportunity to book a lot more speaking engagements since then because of the success of it. And that talk was on today's topic.
Yes.
So some of it you'll hear again, some of it you'll hear in a different way.
Some of it we can't repeat on the
some
radio.
Of it we can't say on the air. And actually part of it, it's kind of funny because I have this thing called a sizzle reel now. So when you apply for speaking gigs, you send them this 60-second thing. And the video company that made this thing for me took a bunch of our old footage, including a shot from that speech where I'm like laying on my back on the stage, pounding on the ground. Yeah. So it's pretty dramatic. We can't get to that level of drama in this studio. Oh, well, maybe we can. It just wouldn't have the same impact.
Yeah.
So if I'm jumping up and down on this table, we know something has gone horribly wrong. So
yeah. Joel won't let us back.
So can we? I actually was driving in this morning, and I didn't want to warn you about this. I kind of want to flip the show around today a little bit. I know you should. Your face says it all.
That's flying blind. Thank
Should
you.
we? Okay. All right. Well,
I'm glad you're prepared. I thought I was.
Well, part of being prepared for this particular episode is all I'm doing is coming in and preaching my gospel. Yeah. Like that's all. This is not preparation. This is not rehearsal. This is not go and research, which some of the shows are. This is take one of my core beliefs and share it with the universe. Yeah. Everybody that's live on Facebook. Welcome to my church.
Preach.
A for-profit church, just so we're clear on that. All right, so let's talk about quote of the day.
Okay.
Who's supposed to read the quote of the day? Oh, I am.
That's
so today's quote of the day is brought to you by Rust Belt Business Law. Rust Belt Business Law exists to help business owners with the issues that keep them up at night. Quote of the day from Albert Einstein. Not our first Einstein quote on the show. He's a pretty smart guy.
Some great things to say.
I don't know that we've fact-checked any of these, though. So whatever. This one is attributed to Albert Einstein.
It has his picture next to it.
That's how you know it's legit. All right. It's fine to celebrate success, but it's more important to heed the lessons of failure.
So, like, we're wired to celebrate success, right? Like, we don't get upset when you're successful.
I don't know that we are. I don't know that we're wired to celebrate success. And we're gonna get into that.
Okay.
We're gonna get it. We have a negativity bias. Bias. We find the fault and the errors in so many things that we do. That's a survival thing. Like that's like natural instinct is we got to find the stuff that will prevent us from staying alive.
Yes.
So yeah, I think we're hardwired for just the opposite of that.
All right. Well, you have to explain that because I think people. That's something that people would be confused. Like I think everybody has that same view. Like success means good, failure means bad.
That's fair. Yeah, it's the label that we put on it that we look at failure as a bad thing.
Yes.
For me, it's my favorite thing in the whole wide world because it means you're on the path to success.
So isn't it the first attempt in learning?
FAIL. That was good. It was a good acronym. Mm-hmm. I'm not always a fan of acronyms like that, but that is a good one.
Yeah.
So. All right, so let's talk about failure, and I want to talk about one of my favorite stories. And again, this is a better demonstration on stage, but one of our businesses' core values is figure it out.
Yes.
Like that's what clients ask us to do. That's what we need to do in order to grow our businesses to places we've never been before. We need to do things we've never done, which means we need to figure a lot of things out. So for our core values in our business, I share videos. And the video that goes along with this core value is the opening scene from the documentary about Tony Hawk called Until the Wheels Come Off. And if you go on YouTube and you look for it, I hope this doesn't like get the thing shut. There's like a bootleg version of it on YouTube, and it's the intro scene. Like somebody is watching it on their TV and filming it with their cell phone level of bootleg. But I think it's also on HBO.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a couple different streaming services, but Until the Wheels Come Off. So it's Tony Hawk, which I believe that most people know who Tony Hawk is. Although there's some really funny videos on the internet where he will like hand his driver's license to someone and they'll say, "Oh, Anthony Hawk, are you related to that skateboard guy?" Or he'll go through a drive-through and they'll be like, "Wow, you really look like Tony Hawk."
Nobody believes it's
him.
Yeah,
but they don't believe it's him. But anyway, greatest skateboarder of all time. Like world famous, made boatloads of money from the video game that used his name and likeness on it. Most people couldn't name a second skateboarder. Like that's the level that this guy is at, right? So they got this documentary. It's a really cool documentary because especially if you're our age and you were growing up in the 80s and 90s, and
he was coming up like during that. That's when he was.
Yep. And so and we lived through the period where it went from skateboarders jumping around in empty pools in Southern California to, by the time we were teenagers, the X Games.
Yes.
Right? Like what a massive transition in that industry, and that guy was a big part of that. So the opening scene of the documentary, greatest skateboarder of all time, really powerful scene. I don't know if it's black and white, but I picture it in my head in black and white. That's how powerful this is. And he's in this giant warehouse, and he gets up to the top of this, probably 12-foot or bigger
it was
half pipe.
huge.
Yep. So he's got his helmet on and his elbow pads and his knee pads, and he's got his skateboard, and he takes this deep breath, and he drops into the half pipe, and he jumps back and forth 3 times, and he launches out on the 3rd jump and spins and spins and spins and falls.
Yeah. Like he's trying to do this flip tape thing.
I can never count it right, but it's probably like a 900-degree rotation, right? So what's that? 2.5 turns and then land back down. So he stands up, grabs his skateboard, climbs to the top of the half pipe, does it again. 3 jumps, launches out of the half pipe, spins, falls. And you've watched this.
This isn't like a graceful fall. This is not something I want to do more than once.
When we watch this in the office, all the moms wince every time. Like when he falls, the moms will go, ooh. Like they've got this maternal instinct of ouch, ouch, right?
Yep.
The opening scene of this film, he does that 13 times.
Yeah.
This is the greatest skateboarder of all time, falling all over his face.
Yep.
Over and over and over again. And he swears and he screams, and there's this one really powerful shot, this cameraman should have gotten a bonus for this, where he's laying on the ground and his skateboard goes flying across the half pipe. It lands upside down, and one of the wheels just keeps turning, and the cameraman like zooms in on that, and you just see Tony like rolling around on the ground in the background. The greatest skateboarder of all time.
Yeah.
But then like the video goes slow motion and the music picks up. And he's got this monologue that every time I hear it, every time I read it, I get emotional because holy crap, does it summarize the entrepreneurial journey. He says, I'm willing to struggle through the learning process, even change my approach just to figure out how to do it. And then, of course, the video is going, he falls again. He says, I'm willing to get hurt along the way, but I never visualized myself getting hurt. I always approach things like, this is going to work. I'm going to figure this out. Mm-hmm. That's what makes Tony Hawk Tony Hawk. That's what makes a successful entrepreneur, a successful human being, a successful business owner successful, is you're willing to struggle through the learning process. You're willing to change your approach just to figure out how to do it. You're willing to get hurt. You don't visualize yourself getting hurt, and you approach it like, this is going to work. I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like there's no other option. Like at some point, it has to work out, right?
Well, you say there's no other option, but it turns out there's lots of other options because those are the options that most people pursue or most people exercise.
But for the people that, maverick mindset or that want to succeed, there isn't another option. Like
not for our people. Yeah. So I think that's the important thing why this scene is so powerful is because it captures the emotion of falling on your face and what a lot of people, you failed. You tried that trick, you landed on your face, you failed.
Yeah.
And it captures that emotion. You, as part of to prepare for the show, you pulled the Michael Jordan statistics, right?
Yes.
So this is a pretty famous line from Michael Jordan. He gave this at a speech, maybe at Hall of Fame or something. I don't know. But can you run us through this?
He knows these numbers, so he was keeping track.
Well, he may have prepared for that speech too. But I want to hear the Michael Jordan story because when you shared this with me, I didn't want to share it on the show.
I know you did.
But I'll explain why. So let's hear it.
Okay. So 9,000 shots. 9,000 shots missed. Mm-hmm. 300 games lost. 26 game-winning shots missed. He says, I have failed over and over again in life. That is why I succeed.
And why I like the Tony Hawk story better than that. I mean, these guys are in the same category. Tony Hawk is to skateboarding what Michael Jordan is to basketball.
Yes.
To Adam Williams is to entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
and the difference is what Michael is trying to convey is it's okay to fail, it's okay to miss, it's okay to be trusted to take that game-winning shot and miss it as long as you get back out on the court. But what that doesn't capture, that his recitation of facts and statistics does not capture the emotion of how freaking hard it is to miss that shot. And you have the towel hanging over your head, sitting on the bench, and then of course the camera guy gets right up into your face to see how you're responding to just blowing it in front of millions of people. That's what's missing.
But everyone expects you not to, right? Because you're Michael Jordan. No one expects you to miss the game-winning shot. So when you do,
it's tough. Yeah. But that's why I didn't want to share that, is because I think it's a fun story, but I think the lesson is lost on if you are in that situation, if you are the business owner and you missed that game-winning shot, you lost the game, you fell on the half pipe, your marketing campaign failed, you have to lay off employees, you're late on your rent payment. That is very emotional. Like that is the stuff that you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with this pit in your stomach of, oh my God, I have to get up in 3 hours and try and do this again. And most people, the vast majority of people in that situation will curl up in the fetal position and not move. And that is the point around when we talk about failure.
Yeah.
Like, failure is not missing that shot. Failure is not falling on the half pipe. Failure is not having a marketing campaign that loses money. When I've talked about this, I've said there's only 3 ways to fail. I invented a 4th one this morning.
Did you?
It was my shower thought of like, oh my God, there's another one. There's another one.
Okay.
So I'll tell you how I was first taught this lesson, and then Jackie helped me add to it, and then I thought of another one this morning. So there are only 4 ways to fail.
Okay.
I was taught there were 2.
Oh.
You only fail if you quit or if you don't learn the lesson.
Right.
That's it. Anything else should be perceived as success. You're on the path to success.
Right.
So, but if you quit, if you walk away, if you pack up your toys and go home, you fail. And there's a lot of people that don't define quitting properly. I don't think a pivot is a quit. I don't think a next evolution is a quit.
Like you just give up on it altogether.
That's it. I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you quit or you don't lose the lesson. And I thought about this the other day, that the biggest lessons I've learned in life have been the biggest failures.
Yeah.
The things that have gone the most wrong have taught me the most. So you either quit, you don't learn the lesson. Those are the first 2 ways. Then Jackie said, well, it's also a failure if you never cry. Or never cry. I got plenty of that. No, if you never try. So you don't quit. You only fail if you quit, you don't learn the lesson, or you don't try.
Yeah.
And this is one of my favorites, because the level of resilience that you need to survive this part of actually starting, of actually getting in the arena. We put a post out the other day asking for suggestions for show topics, and a bunch of people said things along the lines of, how do I start? What do I do? I've got a great job. How do I leave that job? Like, there's
fear behind that.
Yes, and I actually do want to cover that in some future episodes, because they're justified, but it's one of my strengths to talk people off of that, right?
Yeah.
Like let's go.
You're always like 15 things have to happen before the worst thing happens. Like you've said that to me a few times when I'm like, yeah, but this happened. You're like, yeah, but so much has to happen before you get there.
All right. So 3rd way to fail, you never start. This is I get this from Teddy Roosevelt. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. This is my favorite part. So that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither knew victory nor defeat. If you don't step into the arena, you failed.
Yeah.
If you don't strap on that helmet and walk out on that field, you failed. And in fact, you're an even bigger failure if you are that critic. If you are the person who points out how the strong man stumbles, you're failing. And this is actually where I added the 4th one, because I was thinking about this morning. And this tied together a bunch of stuff that we've talked about on the show and that I want to talk about on the show. I think there's a 4th way to fail. The 4th way is if you're using other people's definition of success. Oh.
Yeah.
If you
good shower thought.
It was a great
Great.
shower thought. So if you are listening to that critic who says you should have done it differently, if you are listening to that parent who has a different definition of what you should be in life, if you listen to the people sitting on the sidelines, the cold and timid souls, if you're following their definition of success.
Yeah.
So for example, if you hear this show and you hear me talk about cars and you think that then you need to go out and buy a nice new car, but you don't really care about that, that's not success. That's failure. Like, success needs to be defined. Man, this segment of the show, this is gonna turn into some short
I'm like,
clips that we're
shoot,
sharing.
How many times do you do that? Like,
you're using someone else's definition of success.
Yes.
You're thinking, what would somebody else want for me?
yeah.
So I'm going to give you an example from my Amazon best-selling book. And part of the reason that I have to preface it with that is because it's the whole point of the story.
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of. I can't tell you. First of all, I was blown away by the amount of support yesterday. The people that I haven't heard from. So we did a deal where if you bought the book and you forwarded your purchase receipt, and you can still do this. If you forward your purchase receipt to book@IamAdamWilliams.com, we're entering people into a drawing. And we're going to give away some really cool prizes. And we're going to give a couple more days on this because I think I still want to keep climbing the bestseller list. I was amazed. I was blown away. I was like emotionally affected by some of the messages I got from people that I haven't talked to in years. Like some people would just send the receipt forwarded email, and some people were like, dude, I love what you're doing. This is so great. Keep it up. Like, you're killing it. It was so cool to see it. Like, so I have to preface it with, I was so shocked by the amount of support. Like, I knew some people would support us. I knew we'd sell 20 copies of the book and whatever. But it went so far beyond my expectations.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, I've got people messaging me during the live launch event when I'm on slide 7 of the PowerPoint. Hey, Adam, your QR code on slide 2 didn't work. All right, well, I got it again on slide 7. Scan that one. Like... Or I got text messages, and nobody take this personally because it came from more than one person. I got text messages from people, dude, there's a typo on page 3. Okay. Dude, the URL on page 110 is wrong. Somewhere in the book it showed up as IAdamWilliams.com instead of IAdam. So I went out and bought IAdamWilliams.com, and it redirects to the right page. Like, I fixed it. But why don't you bother to check?
Or as Royce would say, you tweaked it.
Tweaked it. Yeah. Oh, he's so smart. Yeah. So, but like, I already knew that and I already fixed it. But here's the point.
That's what they.
If I was following your definition of success,
my goal
would have been to write the world's most perfect, grammatically correct, error-free book. That wasn't my goal.
Yeah.
My goal was to be on the Amazon bestseller list because I can now slap that on the front of that book. And then I'll go sell more copies of that book. And then by selling more copies of that book, I'll get booked on more speaking stages to talk in front of more people, to preach my gospel of entrepreneurship. That was my goal.
Yeah.
So don't come at me with your typo and your spelling error and your wrong URL and your QR code doesn't work. And hey, on the one landing page that you had, you didn't change the text and it was still that like Latin filler language that they use on template websites. I don't care. I don't care.
That wasn't the point.
I have a singular purpose with this book: to get on the Amazon bestseller list so that I continue to spread the message. That's it.
Yeah.
So I succeeded.
Yeah.
But if my goal was perfection, I would have failed.
Yeah.
If my goal was error-free book, I would have failed. And also, what a huge, oh man, I'm getting so fired up now. What a huge lesson on entrepreneurship it is right there. I'm all about great grammar, especially in writing.
Yes.
Right? You know this.
I know this.
I got into nearly a fist fight with Chrissy yesterday over my use of commas in the bonus chapter that we gave away.
Oh boy.
It was kind of funny. I like that she stands her ground on that.
Yeah.
That's a good characteristic in an assistant. But then she also acknowledges that I make the final decision.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to make, for example, I'm going to write an email to someone, a client, and I have to make a good impression, yeah, you can bet that thing's going to be pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Or if I'm going to go out and make a short social media post, like, yeah, I'm going to make sure that it's error-free.
Yes.
But if I'm going to write a 100-page book, the amount of time it's going to take me to make it perfect is not worth it.
No.
I got better stuff to do. And anybody who picks up that book and sees a typo and says, I don't want to work with that guy, even better, because you're not my people. Like, we're never going to get along.
Right.
I got my shirt is wrinkly and there's goldfish crackers in the backseat of my car, and I'm probably going to accidentally swear at some point, even if I try not to, which hasn't happened on this radio show yet.
I thought it might happen today.
I was. I'll take a sip of my coffee when I get there. But that's the point, is if I was living by someone else's definition of what it was I was actually trying to accomplish. Actually, my mom got me this last night, and she does it. People do it without even realizing, right? I believe that most of these people were trying to be helpful.
Right. It wasn't coming from...
But some of them were some of them were trying to be critical jerks. But whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because I'm not living by their definition of success. I'm living by my definition of success. Right. But I texted my parents, hey, number one, we didn't hit bestseller yet. I was number 2. But on new releases, we were number 1 in a couple different categories.
See, that's good.
In fact, because they rank paperback, Kindle, and hardcover differently, I was number 1 and number 3 on the same list at one point, right?
Very good.
So we're climbing the list. I said, yeah, number 2 bestseller. And my mom, she calls, put her on speaker. My kids are listening. Horrible. And she goes, what about New York Times bestseller list?
Oh, no.
That wasn't the goal. Because I already got the next book, right? Like this was a little appetizer. This was a little teaser.
Yeah.
Let's just see if I even wanted to. This was
go
a
through
test
the process
drive.
again.
This was a test drive. The next one we're blowing it. The next one I'm coming for you, Gary V. He's
I hope he hears that.
We need to get him on this show. Yeah, but actually, it's kind of funny because the book that was number 2, we were 1 and 3. The book that was number 2 is called Coach Builder by Donald Miller, and I'm actually reading that book right now, so it felt good.
Yeah.
I actually had a sales call with one of their guys, and I should send him that screenshot. Anyway, so you only fail if you quit, you don't try, you don't learn the lesson, or if you're living by someone else's definition of success. That's my TED Talk. Like that is what.
And I really think that the hardest one out of all those is that last one, because you have such a tendency to do that.
So I think we hit that pretty hard, but I think the other part is in those other categories. My prior definition, where it was where you fail if you quit, you don't try, or you don't learn the lesson. I think people abuse themselves when that stuff happens. Yeah. When they jump and fall, when they take that last minute shot and miss, they absolutely abuse themselves. Yeah. And I think the strong, successful people, you know what? This is a Ted Lasso moment. Okay. This is not only a Ted Lasso moment, this is a test. Are you ready? What is the happiest animal on the face of the planet?
Oh, I know this. Why? Oh, no.
I'm going to tell you the answer.
Yeah.
A goldfish.
Yes. Right.
And why is the goldfish the happiest animal on the face of the planet?
Tell us.
Because it has a 2-second memory.
Yeah.
It forgets all of its mistakes. It forgets everything that it did. Right. And I think the business owners... Actually, it's a Gary V quote, too. All that looking back is screwing with your neck. Except he doesn't say screwing. He says the word that I would prefer to use in that situation.
Yes, but we're not allowed.
But all that looking back is screwing your neck.
Yeah.
Versus the true entrepreneurs, the people that are growing and developing, are looking forward. Yes, I made that mistake and I learned from it, and I'm going to do my best not to make it again, without being overly reactive to stuff, too.
Yeah.
Like sometimes stuff just goes wrong that was beyond your control. But I think that keeping that forward focus as opposed to the backwards focus, I think looking at what you've accomplished and where you're trying to go versus all the mistakes that you've made. And again, we've got a negativity bias. Like this requires practice to do consistently. Like it requires really intentional effort on this. And I didn't prepare action items for today, but I think this is one of them, is acknowledge when you're looking historically versus towards the future, because that again, this goes back to episode 1. This goes back to every episode we've talked about, where we're talking about goal setting and we're talking about where you want to be, and now using your own definition of that and not someone else's. If that's the focus, it is so much easier to deal with the blood, the sweat, the tears, the mistakes, the perceived failures, the things that go wrong, the times you lose money, the moments that were difficult. All that stuff goes, like all of those bumps get smoothed out if you can focus on that vision of the future and that goal, and it like the goal when it's personally meaningful to you, not someone else's definition.
Well, last week, so my son's playing a summer league basketball with the JV and varsity team so that they could be ready when the season starts. So we're at one of his games, and he's a good shooter, and that game he kept missing the 3-pointers. And on the side, I'm sitting there like, stop shooting the ball. Not saying, but I'm thinking it in my mind because I hate to see him failing, right?
Yep.
So I'm watching him, and every time he is getting the ball, that's what he's going for. And the game's over, and he's walking out, and I'm like, son, you kept missing it. I'm like, why did you keep shooting? He goes, Mom, because at some point I'm going to make it. And if I don't keep shooting it.
Does he have his work papers? I will hire him right now.
Right? So
that's it.
So
don't let him lose that.
Yes.
Don't let him lose that, because that will get beaten out. How old is he?
He's 16.
16. So yeah, that's high school, right?
Yep.
That will get beaten out of him.
Yes.
The teachers who embarrass him for failing a test, the employers who emphasize all of his mistakes, like that will get crushed out of him. Keep shooting the ball.
Yeah. Well, my fear
and
was
adjust, right? Like you got to tweak and you got to adjust, and maybe your elbow's up too high, or you're not jumping high enough, or you're taking bad shots. You could like genuinely
just be taking
the defender's doing a really good job, and maybe you got to get around him, or pass it and get open or something. But keep shooting the ball.
Yeah.
Like that's it. And actually, I go on Maverick Mindset Radio, streaming live on Facebook. This is my woosah moment. We are talking about failure.
Yes.
We're talking about my hatred for society's perception of failure.
Yes.
And we're talking about just keep shooting the ball.
Yes. But listen, because there's a success story here.
Yep.
So, because my fear was if he kept shooting, and this is when the coach during the summer league is scouting who's playing for.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he's not going to be able to start on the JV team. The coach is seeing him miss. So fast forward 3 games later.
Yep.
7 3-pointers. Like
7.
Come on, kid. So, come on.
Joel was giving a really positive hand gesture. I thought he was giving you the cut it, shut it down. Like
no, he was.
Yeah.
You can't see it, guys. But I was just like, when I sat there, and for me, I was like, shame on you for telling that kid, or asking him why he was.
How about it?
Right.
Shame on you.
I know.
But what did you learn from that?
Well, never.
What did your 16-year-old just teach you that when you get him home from school today, you should thank him for the lesson?
I know.
In fact, everybody here, write a thank you note, send it to our office, and we'll hand it to Preston.
Yes.
Because what a valuable lesson that most adults wouldn't get.
I know.
First of all, most adults are never going to lace up the sneakers and step on the court. No. And second of all, they miss those first 2 shots and they say, I'm just having an off day, I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
They curl up in the fetal position.
Yes, I'm done.
And that's it. Pull the blanket up over your heads.
Yeah.
And that's the worst time to stop. Like you can't end with that that taste in your mouth. Oh my gosh. All right. How about can we talk I want to talk about the 4 stages of learning.
Yes.
Because I've wanted to cover this on a couple shows, and I want to be able to also reuse this particular piece of content. But I talked about recognizing perceived failure as a success. Like acknowledge those moments where you say, oh, I missed the shot, or I dropped my plate, or whatever. I microwaved my Pop-Tart too long, whatever. I'm thinking like a breakfast burrito where it's always frozen on the outside, but nuclear hot on the inside.
And then you ruin the ends when you do it too. Yeah. So you could really mess those up.
Just turn the heat down a little bit. Turn it down to level 7.
Tweak
and then,
the heat.
Yeah, make a tweak. All right.
Yeah.
So this is really important because what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes Tony Hawk great is when he gets to the X Games or the Olympics or like the main event, he's not even thinking. Like he is just operating. He is just like he knows the tricks he's going to do and the order that he's going to do them, but it just happens.
Yes.
And you did this on the way into the show today and you didn't even realize it. You drove in without thinking.
Yes.
You're just unconscious. You're just going. You know how to drive. Light
Yep.
turns green, step on the gas, take off. But you're not thinking about
where I'm going.
Okay, all right, I've got to breathe, and I've got to move my right arm up and my left arm down as I make this turn, and then I've got to use my signal, and I've got to use my left foot to apply pressure on the brakes. Like, it just happens, right? So how do you get to that level with the things that we teach on this show? How do you go from, wow, Adam made me aware of this thing, to this is just how I live now? Like, I am now the type of person that misses 21 shots in a game and says, well, I got to keep shooting.
Yeah.
Right? Without even hesitating. This is Preston's show. This is a good one.
Yeah.
I'm pumped up. I don't think I've ever met him. But okay, so here are the four
Great.
stages. Here are the four stages. Let's go through this, because there's a really good book by Malcolm Gladwell called 10,000 Hours. No, The Tipping Point. Sorry. It's called The Tipping Point. But there's a concept in there of 10,000 hours and how you become elite, like the best of the best of the best, if you put in 10,000 hours of intentional, conscious, focused effort on something. We talked about this on prior shows, where even 100 hours a year puts you in the top 5%. But 10,000 hours makes Michael Jordan Michael Jordan. He has spent 10,000 hours practicing his craft.
Yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell looked at the Beatles, and they played in Liverpool. I don't remember, what was it? The Cavern Club? Was that the name? Something like that. And they played like every night for 3 hours. And it turned out that once you added up the number of shows that they did, they had 10,000 hours in.
Wow.
And then they were the Beatles.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you get to that point? So here are the four stages. Maverick Mindset Radio. We're talking about failure. We're talking about the four stages of learning. We're talking about building a muscle so that you can become the Michael Jordan of whatever you want to be.
Right.
The Tony Hawk. I won't add my name again, but I really
You really want to. Just
Stage number 1. Unconscious incompetent.
Yes.
You don't know what you don't know. You are unaware of your lack of skill. You are unaware of your lack of proficiency.
Okay.
So when you hear this show, for example, and say, wow, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow, that's a really good point. You are an unconscious, you go from unconscious incompetent to unconscious competent, meaning
Okay.
you now know what you didn't know, right? You now are aware of, I got these in the wrong order on my sheet here, but you go from not knowing what you don't know to now, you know what? Like, I am familiar with the concept of shooting a free throw. But now and so I'm going to go out and learn a little bit more about this. So unconscious incompetent to conscious incompetent, meaning I know, but I can't do.
Okay.
Third stage is conscious competent. This is your 16-year-old behind the wheel. They can drive.
Yes.
They can get from A to B, but holy crap, are they focused on it?
Yeah.
Like, they really have to think. So they're able to use the skill, but only with a lot of effort.
Okay.
And this is where we get people on this show, I think, really quickly, because they say, I didn't know that. Now I know that. Now I'm going to go out and try it. And you're going to do the habit tracker. Like, do it a couple times a day, do it once a day, but like, build that habit, build the streak, build that muscle.
Yep.
So that finally you can get to unconscious competent, meaning you can do it without thinking.
Just natural.
It's just second nature to you.
Okay.
This is the moment. I don't know if we talked about it on this show or if we were just talking about it, but where I was complaining about something in the business and Roy said, you just got to pivot. Like,
Yes.
Dad, you can fix this.
Yes, that's the whole
He is
freak
now
thing. Yep.
unconscious competent because he didn't even have to think about that. That was just his reaction.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people, first of all, teenagers, not so much, but even most adults, like, yeah, that really sucks. And oh, that's horrible for you. And I can't imagine that thing is happening. Rather than my 13-year-old who just says, yeah, well, all right, you know it's within your control to fix it.
Right.
And he's not telling me to fix it, and he's not telling me how to fix it, and he's not telling me what to do, but he
His mind was immediately like, okay.
yeah, you know that's within
Yeah,
your control,
you know
right?
you
It's
can-
the same thing with Preston. This is going kind of backwards with him, but like, no one, he just says, well, I got to keep shooting
Yeah.
without even thinking about it.
Right.
It
He wasn't even looking at me, and he was like walking like, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brush it off. Preston the goldfish.
Yeah.
I love it.
Preston the goldfish. Maybe that's going to be when he's an NBA player. He's going to be the goldfish.
That is like, what a great nickname, because it's soft enough that people are like, oh, he must be a really bad dude.
Yeah.
Right. Like imagine a nickname like the koala bear. Like, oh, that dude's got to be a mercenary. Right. I would be like, you can call somebody, the silverback gorilla, and it's like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But you call somebody the goldfish?
Right?
Oh, that's a bad dude.
Yeah.
That's a bad dude.
You're like, what does
All right,
that
somebody
mean?
come up with a nickname for me. I need a nickname.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Hey, so come up with nicknames, put that on Facebook, message us your nickname for Adam.
Yeah, the best one will win a prize.
Yeah.
All right, what else did you want to make sure that we covered today on our failure
So
episode?
we did what about, I know you talked about the scarcity versus abundance.
Can we save that for another show?
Yeah. Okay.
So actually, can I tell you another story?
Yeah.
And we will. I did a lot of prep on the scarcity and abundance thing, and I want to.
I feel like you said, anyways. This could be 2 shows. There's so much that goes into it.
So the other story that I like to tell about failure, like this is a really good example of learning from entrepreneurial parents.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's also a really good example of the stuff that your parents say that just sticks in you forever. Like, this arrow is still in my chest, but in a good way. Like this was a good one. Like this is again, this lesson, this like probably offhand comment from my father is part of the reason that I am the way that I am today, right? Like that. So also let that scare the crap out of you, because who knows what stuff you're saying to your kids that's affecting them for life. But this is a good thing. This is a good thing. So I was a hockey player growing up, and we would play. We had an Erie-based league, and then I got onto some travel teams, and we would play in Buffalo or Cleveland or Pittsburgh. Actually, I was telling you guys after the show the other day that we used to go to a tournament in Nashville every year, and one year Erie couldn't get a team together.
Yes.
So like unofficially, my dad and one of his friends like hand selected a team, and we took second place in that tournament, but won the big fight. So I played in a league in Buffalo one year, and I was high school age, and there was a skate park near the ice rink, and a bunch of us are typical teenage kids in the 90s 2000s. I guess this was 90s, late 90s. And we're watching Tony Hawk, and we're rollerbladers, or some were skateboarders, some were BMXers, but mostly rollerbladers. And the coach knew that we were into this stuff, and the coach knew that there was this skate park by the ice rink, and he would say, like, please don't go to the skate park before the games. Like, I don't need you guys getting injured. Like, we're a good team. I think we actually may have won a championship that year.
Nice.
And I didn't have anything to do with that, but they, I don't want you guys going to the skate park. But one day I convinced my dad to take me there before a game. So we drive up, and you sign up for, I don't know, 30 or 60 minutes or something like that. And I've never been in a place like this, but it's this giant warehouse full of ramps and rails and people. And I went in, and it was so cool because like I saw people in real life doing the things I had seen on TV.
You were watching,
yeah, so cool. Like these guys were legit, and they looked the part and acted the part. And I remember just being blown away by this. And I would like skate around a little bit. I didn't do this stuff. I had the skates, but like I wasn't good at it. I actually had a friend growing up that was really good, that made it into some videos and stuff. But that was not me. So we went in, and I skated around, and I was trying to get my dad to build me a half pipe at the time in our backyard, like a 6-foot half pipe. And I think that was part of the reason that he took me to the skate park, because he knew. He knew.
Parents usually do.
So I got in there. He's like, yeah, I'll build you one. Well, great example of rent the car before you buy it, right? Or test drive it. So I went in, and there was a 3-foot half pipe in this place, and I would drop in, and I'd jump up to the other side and stop.
Yeah.
And then I'd shimmy and shuffle around, and then I'd drop in, and it was like, all right, I did it. So get back in the car, we're going to the ice rink, and I said, Dad, I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't fall once. And he goes, well, yeah, you weren't trying very hard. And it's like, oh, ouch. Yeah. So again, what standard are we living to here? But really great example of, do you want to be the person that doesn't ever fall, or do you want to be the person because that's the person that's perceived as you didn't try very hard?
Yeah.
Or do you want to be the person that's perceived as a success? You just got to deal with people seeing your falls and thinking about that.
I was watching a speech by Kobe Bryant, and he was saying that it was all the hard things. It was the things that the getting up super early, the failures, being the last one to practice, the things that were tough, the consequences from the failures, things like that. He was giving this speech about it, and he was like, but that was my dream. That was my dream coming true.
That's it.
All of those things. He goes, and if you don't understand that, then you will never understand, like when you get to that, like when you're doing all that, that it's the journey.
Mm-hmm.
The dream is the journey. You'll never get to the great things that come after that.
Yep. And that's,
Yeah.
I think what's important there is like, that's what makes Kobe Kobe.
Yeah.
And it's okay that other people don't want it as bad as him.
Right.
Right. Like that's perfectly
Right.
fine. Kobe, I haven't read the book. I think Jackie listened to it.
Oh, I bought the book. Yeah, Preston bought the book.
He's pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he seems like a good dude, obviously super inspiring, and that's true for a lot. Like Tony Hawk is in the same category, Michael Jordan's in the same category. Like that was their thing, and that's part of what made them the best. Is that's all they did.
Yeah,
but that's not for everybody. That's not for everybody, right? Like I am okay not being Michael Jordan, although sometimes I would like to be in certain areas. But I'm okay because there's a whole bunch of things that I enjoy doing that I'm good at that are fulfilling to me, and I like that variety.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm the type of person that could show up to the gym every day at 5 a.m. and for the same sport, right? Like I need that variety, and that's okay. Like that's.
I think if you can take that, so if you just attribute it to life in general, we are all thinking that we have to be the best at this, or we have to have these different successes in order to say that life was great, life was worked out the way it was supposed to, right? But if you think about all the different failures, all the challenges, all the hardships throughout life, isn't that like, you're like, well, I never got to live out my dream. Well, kind of, you're living your dream, right? If you can just think about that, it's that journey. It's part of all those hardships too, right? So then when the great things come, like you can appreciate that. I think it's like understanding that concept doesn't just fit into Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and focus on that one thing. If you can attribute that to life in general.
I think that's a good point. And I think there's also a distinction with sports because there are winners and losers.
Yeah.
Like that is objective.
Yeah.
You either won or you're lost. And I think in real life, it's not always like that.
Right.
Actually, I used to tell people, like, other than being a professional athlete, being an attorney, especially one that does litigation, it's the only profession in the world where there's someone on the other side trying to prevent you from doing exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
Surgeons don't have other surgeons in there playing defense. Right? Like librarians don't have other librarians in there smacking books out of people's hands.
Right.
So you don't have the wins and losses that you stack up in such a way. And that's really interesting too, because I still have that need to win. Although I'm not sure if it's a need to win or if it's a need to not lose. I'm not sure which is more powerful there. Like winning is great, but for me it's short-lived. But the sting of an L, the sting of a loss is a lot worse. And again, this isn't a competition scenario. Like this is where you've got an opponent and you're going head to head. So I think the reason that athletes and frankly politicians are kind of getting the same way, you've got the winner and loser, you've got the guy that you can root for. It's not always that way in business or in real life because it isn't as objective. Yeah. Which is why we go back to having your own definition of success. Like, what do you define as a win? It's not points on the scoreboard like it is in other arenas. Funny. but it's your definition. Yeah, oh man, let that one sink in.
What about, so you can look at it this way. You are in competition with yourself. You're the one smacking the ball out of your own hand.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right?
Man, that's a good point. Because it's not just competition with yourself. So I don't know if have we talked about, I don't think we've really talked about comparison much on this show, but like comparison, they say comparison is the thief of joy, and comparing yourself to others, like it's a miserable thing, right? You're never fulfilled by that. Yep. Because, you want to feel good about yourself, fine. Go find somebody that's got it worse off, because there's always somebody out there, and make that comparison and feel better. You want to feel worse about yourself, find somebody that's better off than you. Yeah. Park your boat at the next marina over and see the bigger boat next to you, and suddenly you feel bad about yourself. And I think a lot of people do that. I think that's you.
Especially now with social media.
How do you respond when you pull up at a stoplight next to that $200,000 car? Is it, wow, that's cool, good for that person? Or is it, who are they taking advantage of to get that, right? Yep. So that comparison to others, horrible, horrible, horrible thing. Where you should be comparing is to prior versions of yourself or to the future version of yourself and where you want to be. Like, that's the only measuring stick that really matters. look how far you've come.
Yeah.
Look at where you were 5 or 10 years ago
Yeah.
and look at where you are now. Great. That's a great comparison. Or maybe it can be a little motivating because you're not as far along as you wanted to be. So then let's also do the comparison to the future self, to the Adam of 2034, which we talked about on a prior show. Like, where are you in relation to that?
Yes.
I don't need to go and see what other people are doing to get motivated or demotivated about that.
Or determine what your goals are.
I can see examples. I can learn things new. There's things I want now that I never knew I ever wanted before, right? Like, I never knew I wanted an airplane until I had a friend with an airplane and I got to fly around in it and go places, and it's like, well, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But then there's other things that I've seen people have that it's like, you know what, I don't really want that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need spas. Like, not for me. I know that there's people who really get into that stuff, but I don't know. No matter this, like, getting slapped with seaweed for an hour for $300 is not something that but there's other people that are like, if I don't get my $300 slap me with seaweed treatment this week, I am going to be a wreck. Fine. That's okay. Like, go for it. Right. That's
someone's going to go into the spa and be like, do you have
the seaweed? Do you have the Adam Williams treatment?
Yeah.
Do you have Amazon?
I heard about this. I just want to know what it is.
Amazon bestselling author Adam Williams said that there's this treatment where you can slap me with seaweed for an hour for $300. I bet it exists.
I am certain it exists. It's not called that, but I am certain it exists.
It should be. Yeah. Why bury the lead?
You know, that's a good business. Somebody needs to open a spa that has the worst names.
Yeah. The kick in the junk. Ooh, sign me up for that one. What is that? Well, that's where we apply this volcano mud to your shoulder.
Yeah.
Right. That really went off the rails there.
What happens?
So speaking off the rails, can we talk about the obscure holiday of the day?
Yes, which ended up being perfect. Some things just line up.
I'm going to have you share it because I had to read the quote. I had to do so much work today.
Okay. So yeah, it is time for the obscure holiday. And this was so fitting. It is National Start Over Day.
I love it.
Right?
I love it.
So, like the universe knew we were talking about this. So
pick yourself up off the ground, get back to the top of the half pipe, get back to the free throw line, tie your shoes, lace up your sneakers again, and let's go. I love it. Yeah, it's really exciting.
Action items? Do you wanna...
We could. I don't know. What do we got for action items? That's it.
Well, pick yourself up.
Stop being a cold and timid soul. Get out there and step into the arena. And if you're hesitating and making excuses, like, it's easy to come get in front of a microphone and be a tough guy about this, right? Like, just do it.
Yeah.
All right, that's not exactly what I meant to say, but like, I get that there's a risk to it, right? And we will talk about this at some point. I get that there is a perceived risk of failure. So maybe the action item is this: whatever you're worried about it, start asking yourself repeatedly, so what? Oh, well, I'm gonna quit my job to go and start my business, and I might fail. So what does that mean? Well, I'm not going to have any money. So what does that mean? Well, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. So what does that mean? You know what? Now that I say that, it turns out that that happened. I could just go and get a job again and pay my bills, right?
Yes.
So like the so what question, I think is really
you do
important.
That to me a lot.
Yeah, because you tell yourself BS stories.
I know.
And you're like so. And listen, I
Talk
do this
me
too.
off the ledge.
I'm just you're lucky that you have me in your life to call you out on this. But like the story that you tell yourself of how bad it could go never actually comes true.
Yes.
Now, that's not to say it's not perfect. I actually got a really good message the other day. So a few weeks ago, remember I did an event with Lewis down the street. And
yes.
It was how to make your first $100,000. And I posted on Facebook because I had to park around the corner and I had to bring my own whiteboard, and I shot a video, and I was like, you can have a big business and a big team and all this success and make all this money, but you're still going to end up pushing your own whiteboard down State Street heading into an event, right? Like,
it's perfect.
And that's kind of a joke because it's not that bad of a thing, but it's not to say that like your life is going to be perfect and there aren't going to be problems. What I'm telling you is the problems need to be worth it.
Yeah.
Like the where you're going needs to get worth it. So,
yeah.
Oh man, that was a great show.
It was. We have more to add on that for
there's so much more that we can cover because we came up with other stories.
Yes.
We didn't talk about Johnny
we
Manziel.
There was a lot.
There's going to be some good stuff. All right. Great show today.
Yes.
Talking about failure. I believe in you. See you next week.